It's the day of the premiere of Juve, my first symphony. And I wanted to take a few minutes to talk a bit about the symphony and let you know what to expect and just give you some background in a more detailed way than I was able to do in my first video. So, so a symphony, very simply, is instrumental work in many different movements. This symphony has four, and each movement tries to depict in a certain way the kind of ethos of life in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not necessarily about carnival, but it does use a lot of carnival themes and carnival ideas, particularly when it comes to musical motifs. So, the first movement, each movement is named, each movement has a subtitle. And so the first movement is entitled Fanfare. The second movement is entitled Dirge. Third movement, Romance. And the fourth movement, Jam. Let me talk a little bit about each of these movements. So the first movement, which is titled Fanfare, is really, it's the door opening into the symphony. It's the introduction to the symphony. And it is very militaristic in its sound. And this is deliberate because for me it harkens back to this history of military music that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, we have a long tradition here of military music. And so this first movement really does try to capture that era. It's laid out just like a typical symphonic first movement. You have a slow introduction, then exposition, development, and recapitulation. Second movement is entitled Dirge. A lot of people have been asking me, what's Dirge? So Dirge is a slow, sad piece of music that's usually accompanying like a funeral. And people have wondered, why would you put something slow and sad into something that celebrates life in Trinidad and Tobago? And that's because funerals are a part of life. And it's not to be morose or maudlin about it, but I find that there is a certain grace and comfort in people coming together to celebrate someone who has gone on. And yes, there is a lot of sadness involved, but for those of you who are experienced with grief and mourning, you also know that there is always that day of grace when you wake up feeling blessed. And so that's part of life too, and there's no reason why we couldn't embody that in music. So the second movement is slow. It is graceful. It is designed to make you kind of sit back and reflect and find your own moment of beauty. And to me, it's the heart of the symphony, the beating heart of the symphony, because it's the movement where I pour out a great deal of emotional expression. So that's the second movement. The third movement is different. It is in a different meter. And it is supposed to be a lilting, swaying romance. And in this, it really is kind of lay out the thought of two people. They are in a comfortable stage in their courtship, and they are just out in public having a nice time together. It's very family centered. It's light. It's easy to listen to. It's easy to kind of hum along to, sing along to, and that's its primary purpose, to be a little sweet pause and reflection on, the joyous sweetness of life. And then comes the fourth movement. In your typical symphony across history, the fourth movement is this kind of explosion of something that is fantastic and joyous and dancey, and I think that we've kind of hit that mark in the fourth movement of the symphony. It's titled Jam for a reason, and that reason becomes apparent to you from the first notes of the fourth movement, and it continues driving its way through to the very last notes of the fourth movement. I don't want to give too much away because I really want there to be this little air of mystery and surprise with regard to how the fourth movement unfolds. But I think, for me, the way this fourth movement turned out, it represents my most mature music composition to date. So I'm really, really proud. I'm really excited. And, when Monday night, this past Monday, just 3 days ago, was the first time we were able to put the pans together with the NPO, the Philharmonic. And so it was the first time I was actually hearing the full work together. And oh my, it was so exciting. And I want to be able to have you share that excitement with me. So I really hope you get to come out tonight and tomorrow and enjoy this wonderful time with us.